Hello, I'm still sorting. Today, I thought I would share an event in my life that changed everything. Something that at the time seemed it might be the most difficult task I would have to do, and it turned out to be one of the best benefits in my professional career. When I was a young therapist, I was working at an agency that sent notices out that it was going to close, and I panicked. I sent out 100 resumes in 4 states trying to line myself up with another job. One agency was brand new and it was in Indiana, and they asked me to come and interview for a job. But the position was a director's position of a mental health facility. And even though I was a therapist, I did not have management experience at the time. But I wanted the job. So I went and I gave the performance of my life. I was interviewed by a team of doctors and administrators, and in all of my questions, I showcased what I was capable of, not necessarily what I had experienced, because as a therapist, patient care was all I had done. But in my job interview, I was able to showcase that I had so much more to offer. And I ended up with the job. And on my first day, as I was down in the cafeteria getting a cup of coffee, some directors asked me to join them. And they welcomed me to the center. And as I was sitting there, one person said, "You do understand that you're working for the toughest boss. She chews people up and spits them out so fast, and she has a very difficult time keeping any staff around." That was so heart-wrenching. I was just like shocked. And after I had my cup of coffee, I went to the waiting area to wait because my next thing was to do orientation with her. And I was waiting on her, and I was just shaken. And I sat there and I did a little self-talk. And I told myself, you got to go in there, and the last thing you need to showcase is how shaken you are. So get a hold of yourself and pull out that great self-esteem that you have and walk in there with the assurance of who you are and what you're capable of doing. And whatever you do, don't be fragile. And when she called me in, I had that smile on my face, and that's exactly what I did. I walked in with great assurance, and I sat down, and she was everything they promised and more. She started throwing questions at me fast and furious, and she had a very intimidating presence. But I just simply answered the questions and answered them with great assurance. And the interesting thing was is that she was a brilliant lady. She offered me a wealth of information that I needed. After all, I was new as a director. And even though they had told me to steer my distance as much as I couldn't afford to do that. I needed to walk side by side with her, and I needed to learn everything she had to offer because I needed her experience. In the next few years, that's exactly what I did. And one night she called and she asked me if I would meet her at a restaurant. She wasn't a social lady, so it was just kind of strange, the call was, but I told her I would. And when I walked into that restaurant and I was walking up to the table, her presence was so different than I had ever seen. She was smiling. She had some softness to her, the harshness that I knew, and the curt nature was just gone. And she thanked me for coming, and I sat down and she started out and she said, "I called you here because I want you to know that you are amazing and that your job performance is outstanding." And she said, "I went to the board and I asked them to give you a substantial raise." And she said, and they granted it. And then she proceeded to tell me about my raise. And I was just stunned, shocked. But it didn't end there. She said, "I also know that you want to go to Notre Dame for your graduate degrees." And she said, "I asked the board if there was any way we could support you and help you get that done. And they have agreed to pay your tuition." That was so shocking to me. Notre Dame is not cheap. It's in a very expensive school. And then she continued, and she said, to help you get your degree sooner, we're going to give you summers off so that you can go to class. And she said, and we're going to pay your salary. That was just unbelievable. And I did get my degrees, and I continued to work there for quite a few years. And when I left, I was one of the most prepared people to go and go right up the ladder into corporate America. And my career has been amazing. It it just was at the top of every healthcare corporation. I did training. I set up hospitals. I set up programs inside the hospitals. I I was great at licensure for hospitals, and it was so much of it I had to credit to her and everything she had to offer me. And so, what I want to share with you today is, do you have someone in your life that's a bit intimidating? Someone that you're forced to by circumstances that you have to face every day? It really is to your credit to find inside of yourself that self-esteem and assurance that you need to be able to face them and not be fragile, and to open that door as an opportunity. Walk toward it with confidence in all that you are. They may be the key to your future. So sometimes when we think we're dished something that is just kind of unbearable, it may indeed be the solution to so much more in our life. So as I come across these events, I will share them with you. I'm still sorting. Thank you.